An all-singing, all-dancing extravaganza filled with wild-haired little creatures that live in a fuzzy world packed with colour and sparkle. That's DreamWorks' latest animated movie Trolls, starring Kendrick and Justin Timberlake. Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, it's Jan here, and in this video I'm going to be revealing loads of crazy fun facts about the movie, including a bunch of Easter eggs. Just before I start, I'm running a giveaway for this gorgeous hardback book from Titan called The Art of DreamWorks Trolls, which is full of concept and production art and info on the movie. All you need to do for a chance to win a copy is subscribe and leave a comment or reply to a comment about the film on this video. And because you guys are so awesome, I've even got a bunch of bonus ways to enter the giveaway, so check out the Gleam link in the video description below for more details. Okay, now let's take a look at 15 crazy fun facts and Easter eggs in the movie Trolls. Because hair is such an important and distinctive part of how the trolls look, the animators wanted to make sure they got it just right in the movie. So they filmed slow motion footage of the original troll toys and used it as a reference to see how their hair moved. In fact, the movie had a dedicated hair task force, with hundreds of artists and technicians working solely on hair effects. And the DreamWorks tech team even created a brand new piece of software called Willow to help make it easier for the movie's artists to style, simulate, and preview the trolls' hair. In total, the animators created 1.8 million strands of hair for the movie. To give you an idea of how that works out for the individual characters, Poppy has almost 84,000 strands, while Branch has nearly 50,000 strands. But the character who has the most hair on her head is Lady Glitter Sparkles, whose overall style is pure 70s disco diva, and whose rainbow wig is made up of over 230,000 strands. But even Lady Glitter Sparkles can't compete with the number of strands required to create the hair plus all the fur on the giraffe-like troll Cooper, because his head and body took over 800,000 strands. Not only did the movie's crew have their work cut out, creating masses of super-powered troll hair for the film, they also had to deal with tons of glitter. And that was not easy, as their computers could only make glitter look realistic when it was motionless, and not when it was moving around and reflecting light as it needed to do in the movie. To solve this sparkly problem, DreamWorks tech team put on their thinking hats again and invented another new piece of software, the Glitter Flake Shader, which made glitter flakes in the movie look randomly scattered about, as they'd naturally look in real life, but also allowed the movie's artists to easily manipulate their movement, shape, and reflectiveness. If there's one thing that isn't sparkly in the Trolls movie, it's the unhappy ogre-like Bergens. When the animators were designing the gloomy land where the Bergens live, they turned to 1970s suburbia for inspiration, which is why the Bergens world is mainly coloured in earth tones like shades of burnt orange, dark green, and gold. And that's also why Bergen Town is influenced by popular 1970s things like shag carpet, wood panelling, polyester, formica, and brutalist architecture. But the 1970s wasn't the only era that influenced the look of Bergen Town. The animators also look back much further to the Middle Ages and use the layout of walled medieval villages as a reference for how they arranged Bergen Town. Although the technology exists to make animated movies look more photorealistic than ever before, think of the landscapes in Pixar's The Good Dinosaur for example, the filmmakers behind Trolls wanted their movie to have a very handmade, textured feel. So to achieve that, they based the film's look on felt, fabrics and fibre art, which means that when the animators were creating the Trolls' super fuzzy world, things like macrame, felting techniques, flocked material, velvet and knitting were all a big influence on its look. And to give the crew a proper feel for how the Trolls world should look, the film's production designer asked Iowa-based artist Sayori Sasaki Haman to create a model of the troll forest out of just fibre and fabrics. The hit song Can't Stop the Feeling was co-written by Justin Timberlake, who voices Branch, to resolve a problem the filmmakers were having with how to change the Bergens' glum outlook and bring the film to a satisfying close. The directors didn't like the idea of the Bergens being transformed after hearing a character give a motivational speech, and they couldn't find a song to fit the moment, so they asked Timberlake to write a song that would have the right effect, and Can't Stop the Feeling was the result. As director Mike Mitchell says, the song creates happiness when you hear it, so it makes sense that it would bring the Trolls and Bergens together in the movie. And in keeping with the movie's 1970s feel, Timberlake, who's also the film's executive music producer, channeled a mix of Michael Jackson, the Bee Gees, and Bill Withers when he was writing the song. When it came to getting the right vibe between Poppy and Branch, who start off as polar opposites and are both very determined characters, the filmmakers took cues from the classic 80s action comedy Romancing the Stone, specifically the on-screen energy and back and forth between its stars Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas. In fact, Romancing the Stone is actually one of director Mike Mitchell's favourite movies. According to the directors of Trolls, their movie's strange, fairy tale-like dream quality owes a great deal to the odd creatures and dreamlike worlds created by renowned Japanese writer-director Hayao Miyazaki, who co-founded Studio Ghibli and gave us such classic animated movies as Spirited Away. And for the scene where Poppy sings The Sound of Silence, accompanied by a variety of weird and wonderful creatures and plant life, the filmmakers channeled not only Miyazaki, but also the animated TV show Adventure Time. And director Mike Mitchell has said that in this scene, Poppy is like a quirky twist on Snow White or Cinderella, who are friendly with all the forest creatures. At the start of the movie, when Chef plucks what she believes to be a troll from the troll tree for the young Prince Gristle to eat, the Bergens are all horrified to discover that it's not a real-life troll, but a wooden one, as the real trolls have cunningly escaped. This moment is a lovely Easter egg in tribute to Thomas Dam, the Danish creator of the original troll toys the movie's based on, as the first funny little figures that he created were carved out of wood. And it was the popularity of those wood carvings that led Dam to create the very first troll toys we know today. And as a little Easter egg and homage to the troll dolls that became so popular in the 1960s and often didn't wear any clothes, the filmmakers invented a character for the movie called Guy Diamond, who's naked except for glitter. By the way, the character of Guy Diamond is voiced by the Big Bang Theory's Kunal Nayyar. Trolls also makes references to a number of other movies and stories. For example, when Poppy leaves the troll village and heads to Bergen Town to save her friends, she crosses paths with a bunch of spiders and falls through a series of webs, getting completely wrapped up in one of them. That scene in the movie really tips its hat to Peter Jackson's movie The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, and in turn of course to J.R.R. Tolkien's original novel The Hobbit. And there's the scene where scullery maid Bridget, who's disguised as Lady Glittersparkles, is on a date with King Gristle Jr., and she gets all tongue-tied, so the trolls help her out, telling her what to say. Well, that scene is a nod to the French play Cyrano de Bergerac, which has been adapted in many movies over the years, including the 1987 hit comedy Roxanne, starring Steve Martin and Daryl Hannah. And when Lady Glittersparkles accidentally leaves behind one of her roller skates after her date with King Gristle Jr., it's a clear shout out to the story of Cinderella, which has also been adapted for the big screen many times, including Disney's recent live-action version with Lily James and Richard Madden. And Anna Kendrick also played Cinderella in Disney's version of Into the Woods. Speaking of roller skating, for the design of Captain Starfunkles, the filmmakers took cues from Moonlight Rollerway, a roller skating rink which is just a stone's throw from the DreamWorks animation offices in Glendale, California. And actually the movie's crew went skating there several times when they were making the film. As well as co-directing the movie, Walt Dohrn also lent his voice to a number of small characters, including Smidge, who's a little troll with a very deep voice, Mr. Dinkles, who's Biggie's pet worm, Fuzzbert, a troll who's mostly hair with a pair of feet sticking out, and Cloud Guy, the white sock-wearing, walking, talking cloud who loves high-fiving everyone. Dohrn's co-director Mike Mitchell also stepped into the sound booth to record various voices for the film, including a spider and Captain Starfunkle, who serves pizza to King Gristle Jr. and Lady Glittersparkles during their date. Now, who's your favourite character in Trolls and what would you like to see happen in a Troll sequel? Tell me in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and comment for your chance to win this gorgeous hardback book, The Art of DreamWorks Trolls. For bonus ways to enter the giveaway, do check out the Gleam link in the video description below. So guys, if you liked this video, do also check out my Trolls movie review and my animation playlist here. I always appreciate your likes, shares and comments on my videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time, yippee-ki-yay movie lovers!